I'm from Boulder, Colorado. That's where I was born, and lived there till I left Boulder when I was in elementary school and went to Grand Junction, which is a small town in the western half of Colorado, and got into music early on. Started. You want me to go on?
Yeah.
Tell
Oh, yeah.
Part of my story, or
just keep going.
Was first a big fan of music. Started playing drums. Well, just a snare drum in the concert band at school when I was 10, and became pretty passionate about drums throughout middle school and high school. And still being from a smaller town, was the kid that everybody was like, oh, he's great. He could be something if he went somewhere or whatever. And then so I had these aspirations of being a drummer, and there was a little 8-track studio, quarter-inch reel-to-reel 8-track studio in town, and started playing drums on a few things they did there. And then made the move to Nashville when I was 19. I went to college for 2 years in Colorado, a small state school, and still lived with my parents. And then found out about Belmont and made the move to Nashville, and was still excited about drums, but also had some interest in recording and everything, but thought drums might still be the path until I started being around a lot of other people who were the great kid drummer from their small town, and realized that they were all better than me, and being a good drummer in a small town doesn't necessarily translate so well into a big city of amazing musicians. So started to lose some interest in drums because of that, and then also I started playing on a few independent records for people, and went in and played on this project for a guy who was also a student at Belmont, and just remember playing just big and powerful and feeling like, man, these drums are going to be gigantic, and so excited to hear it. And at that point, any independent record, they couldn't afford to print vinyl, so it was a cassette tape. I couldn't wait to get that cassette, and finally got the cassette 2 months later when they had finished it and put it in, and the drums sounded small and anemic and just terrible. And I was like, what in the world happened? I play big and huge, and they're small and tiny. And quickly came to my senses and realized that the drummer has no control at all about how the drums sound. That's all in somebody else's hands. And so I started getting more and more interested in the sound of the drums and the sound of everything, as opposed to being the guy that played them. And also realized that the guy that plays the drums is usually in for the first 2 or 3 days of a record if he's lucky, and then he's gone and he's done, and that's it. And he doesn't have any more of a thumbprint than that in how the album sounds. But the engineer is the guy who gets called and booked for, at that point. I mean, usually one engineer saw a project through beginning to the end, and you get a call and say, hey, what's your schedule look like from the second week of June to the third week of August or whatever, and you get booked for 8-9 weeks on a project real regularly. And I mean, there might be a long weekend in there here or there where the band had to go do some promo thing or something like that, but generally you'd get booked for a long project, and realize that as the engineer I could really have a strong say in how this project sounded. So that's kind of my loose story on what brought me to town, and how I became interested in engineering rather than drumming.